Hi, welcome back to the PAFA wire wrapping channel. I am today going to make a teardrop ruby zoisite. I'm not sure how you say it. It's Zoisite, I believe. And that is this particular stone in this particular design, although this design is already oxidized. This is oxidized copper. So let's get started. Okay, today we've got 3 lengths of 9 inches long, 20 gauge round copper wire, and we're going to start with about 3 inches of half round 22 gauge. And we're going to wrap this around that about 10 times. I might speed this part up for you because it's going to be boring. Okay, then we're going to squish it down. I'm going to make sure, actually don't squish it down too tight and then push them together until you make sure that, because it's 9 inches, you want the wraps to be right about the center of 4.5 inches. And that will be about your halfway mark there. I can't believe I sat down. I thought I had everything I needed, but I didn't have my stone. So this is the ruby zoisite, and it's green, but it's also got a little bit of a sort of a fuchsia or raspberry color in it, which is really cool. We're going to take our 3 round 20 gauge copper wire, making sure that's still in the center there. And we're going to basically put first of all, make sure after you wrap your wires, and for those who are beginners, when you use half round, make sure that the flat side, that's the duller flat side, if you can tell, that goes on the inside toward the wire, and the round, half round, shinier side goes on the outside. And so we're going to take this and we're going to go about halfway up the wraps, and then we're going to bend it in a V, and we are going to actually, I'm going to flip this up. Before I get started, I'm sorry, the tools you're going to need, other than a measuring device and your wires and your stone, will be a tweezer nose pliers, wire straighteners, round nose pliers, and flush cutters. You can also use bail making pliers for your bail, but I tend to just use my fingers. I also like to use this, it's just a little piece of Loctite putty, and it's really great for putting your stone on a mat with lines. And what you want to do is just put the putty on a line, straight line, and then put your piece on it and press it down. And then you can take your wires wherever they went and just kind of make sure that your point of your stone kind of fits right in where that V is that you made. Then you just kind of take your wires and gently wrap them around the stone, keeping that point right where the V is. Actually, my wraps look a little uneven, like I have more on one side, so I'm going to just move them a bit. And usually you can do this with your pliers and it won't cause any damage. So I want that kind of centered, and push it in as far as you can. Then take your wires and kind of on both sets of 3, bend them across until they meet. Just this is, I think, 10 millimeters. So about 10 millimeters or less, because we don't want a whole lot of space here at the top. We just want them to meet right about in the middle, somewhere about maybe 5 millimeters. Okay, so it looks like that. And once you have that, you can take this off of here, and I would remove this putty and then take your, now I love these, they're bobbies. I think they're really thread bobbins, but I put my wire on it and it keeps my copper wire from flying all over the place on the regular spool. And what I always do before I pull anything off a spool is I try to straighten my wires as they come off the spool, because they will tend to get twisted if you're not careful. So you're going to take these wires, for your bale. Well, this isn't your bale yet, but just take your, I'm going to tell you about 12 to 15 inches maybe of half round 22 gauge for your bale. I would go with at least 12, but you know, if you have extra, that's okay. But if you cut it too short, you're going to be unhappy. So cut as much as you think you'll need. And if you can work off a bobbin like this, it's much better because then you can just cut it when you're finished. Okay. And then you just want to do, you want to hold this tightly like this, and you're going to do a few wraps, and you want to take about an inch of the half round wire and have it go toward where the stone will be, because you're just going to basically wrap the tail end of that in to keep your bale secure as you wrap. And then you're going to just cut it off kind of flush with where it comes out. You don't want anything sticking out where it can scratch anybody. Once you've done that, just tuck it in, make sure it's not, you know, sticking out anywhere. And then just make sure your wraps are kind of tight, because I'm not sure if these are as tight as I would like. So I'm going to undo it a little bit. And make sure your wires are lined up, which is not as easy with round wires, but you want them to be, you know, kind of lined up 3 against 3. And I'm going to just wrap this again. I may have to, because it did not get as tight. So if you're paying attention, unlike me, you want to just try to get your wraps that are going below as, you know, snug as you can, so that there's no they're not lumpy and gappy and all that kind of stuff. And then once you do this again, tuck it back in. Okay, so now I'm going to do maybe 1 or 2 more wraps. And as you can see, this flat side, if you can see that it's, I don't have the glasses on to make sure this is focused, but I think it is. Just do a couple times, then come back around to wherever you want your front to be, which I think this will be the front here. Make sure your stone still fits after you wrap those wires tight. And it's okay if it's a little bit snug, but you want to make sure that it fits, okay? All right. Now, and one thing you can do is tape your stone in while you do this. I might just not bother because I don't have my tape. Of course, I forgot everything today. Anyway, you're going to separate your 2 farthest back wires, and make sure you have the right wires, because that's sometimes a challenge. And when you separate those are going to be the bale, and the other wires are going to go out to either side, their respective sides. And let's hope we got that right, because I think that's right. Nope, that was not right. So that's something very important when you're dealing with your wires. Make sure that you have the exact right wires where you want them. So these are the 2 front wires on the left and the right, and these will be your bale wires. Okay, so making sure that this didn't get all, you might want to run the wire straightener or down this again just to be sure. And then you can just take your piece, and I'm left-handed, and this is how I'm doing it. I don't know if I'm doing it right-handed, but whichever way is easiest for you to spin your piece and do this. And as you go, your bale might get a little bent, and you just want to make sure that once in a while that you straighten it back up. So as you can see, this is trying to crawl over top of the other wires, so you just want to kind of straighten it back up a bit. And also down here, it's trying to bend out a little bit. Okay, so I'll probably speed this part up because it's just more of the same tedium. Okay, I'm coming to the end here, and your bale should really, once you've crushed all the, I don't want to say crushed, but squished all the wires down toward where the stone will be, and then flatten them out. It should be a little bit over an inch, and you want to make sure that the end of your wire ends up at the back. So we'll call that the back. Why not? Yeah, that is the back because that's where the wires are in the front. So we'll cut this off, and then you can bend it forward and just use your fingers to just try to make a bale shape, or you can use a pair of bale making pliers, and you want to bend that up and bring it down, but you want not to be too bulbous in the way that your bale is. So that's about how your bale should look. And I'm just going to switch to my other glasses now that I'm done with the bale where I couldn't see. Okay, so you've got your two wires going toward the front, and then you're going to separate them out and bring them around toward the back. Now, in order to get a little bit out of the way, also make sure that, you know, this is sitting straight right there, which it looks like it is. You can cut off the one of them, whichever one you choose, but I think in this instance the one on the right is going to be the one that we won't be seeing it if it's cut. So then this one, you just want to press it down and bring it around and cut off enough to leave enough to tuck in, and nothing more than that. You don't want it to go, you don't want your tucked in part to go all the way to the front. Just, you don't want it to be as visible. But this should be just about right. Okay, so that's what we have there. And you can also just kind of scooch it up a little bit. Okay, so this should be hidden. It may not look great right now, but it will, whoops, it will be hidden. And so now we're going to go ahead and trap our stone in. And you can go ahead and make sure your little wires are kind of even there. And I just want to make sure the stone will fit because it's looking a little bit small there. So you want to make sure before you start doing any trapping actions that everything looks okay, that your stone is still going to fit, and it's going to fit correctly because it's flat. And actually sometimes it helps when you've got the bale which sticks up, sometimes it helps to flip it upside down because it'll be more flat that way to get your wires around the stone. I did make it a wee bit tight. So it looks like it'll fit okay. So we're going to go ahead. You want to pull out with your fingernail. You don't want to grab with the pliers because you're likely to lose that piece of wire and scratch it. So just pull it out with fingernails and then bend it in like that. Then do the same thing on the other side, making sure that you're doing the back, not the front. And you just want it to look like that, kind of even. Okay, then you can take your stone, and it's got a little place to sit now, and it sort of snaps in there. Then lift the front wires gently with your fingernail, and then we just do a little bend here. Try and make your bends as even as you can. I'm really never good at that, but bend up there and a bend up. There, maybe. So there you go. So it should look like that. And that's your back. And make sure your stone's not poking out the top. You know, you might want to bend this in a little if the top is about to poke out there. But you don't have to do much, just enough, because you really don't want these wires being obvious through the front. But with this design, they probably wouldn't anyway. So you can bend them as much as you like. I just want to press that in a little bit. Okay. So now we've just got the 4 wires left. I'll cover this up to be less distracting. And these, if they look at all, like they're not going to be looking pretty when you bend them, then you can straighten them first. And basically, again, I try to do this with my hand, not with a tool, especially when you're doing something like this. You don't want to scratch your wire with a tool if you can get away with shaping with your fingers. Okay, so you just want to bend them over like this, and whatever looks good to you. And then you can bend them. Hold on to this with your thumb while you bend around to the back, and you got that part's done. So this is a pretty easy one. And then we'll snip it off so that we can, I probably snipped it a little too much there, but I mean, we're not going to see it if it goes towards the front. I don't think so. Actually, I am going to snip a little bit more because really I left a lot. You don't want to leave a whole lot. Okay, so let's see. Okay, and when you do that, kind of make sure, because as I pulled that, this starts to go that way, and you want to pull it back because you don't want it, out of shape before you tuck things in too far. And it's really better to try to tuck one wire at a time, but I think this will work. Okay, so now we have this. All right, so we're getting there. So the first wire on the other side is going to be the one that's closest in. And again, now you can use your round nose pliers if you want, but I try to always grab it from like the end and kind of gently press it with my thumb. And I'm going to have a curve here, and then do it again. Now in this case, you may want to use your pliers to push it down a little, because this next one is going to be slightly lower and smaller than the one above it. And then the same thing underneath. We're going to do a third one that's small. Okay, and that is it for that. We will snip off. I actually like to use the flush cutters this way when I'm making a little curl, because I kind of want a little bit of a beveled edge instead of a flat edge. So you want to cut it maybe right there in the middle, because we're going to make it a small, I hope that'll work. I hope I didn't screw it up. A small curl, and we'll use our pliers to kind of close it in. But if it gets out of shape, then you can press it down flat. And if you have to get under it, you have to get under it. So the one thing I don't like here is I think this other one is a little too high up and maybe a little big compared to the one above it. I'm trying to do sort of a cascading set of curls here. Okay, and if you want to spread them out a little bit, that's okay too. Oh, I hope I didn't just scratch that. If you scratch your wires, you can use diamond cut nail files to just kind of get the scratches out. And okay, I think that's good. And so for the last one, we're going to go kind of, again, this one's going to be a bit of a bigger flourish here, and then we're going to kind of grab it right below where those other curls are, and start curling. And we're going to make kind of, now this is an instance where you may want to use this because you want it to be kind of round. Okay, and once you've done that, bring it around, and then bring it around one more time, and again, if you want to make it smaller, which I do, it's helpful to use these. So, okay, and we're almost done here. So then you just take these and again cut it within the curve there. Cut it that way, and maybe just leave a little bit so you can push your curl in. So you have a little curly Q like that, and bring it back around. Just kind of curve it in. Kind of, whoops, good underneath it. Slippery. Get underneath it and then just kind of press it all the way in. And this one, it looks a little big for me, to me. Okay. And this one looks like I might want to make it a little bit shorter. So I think I'm going to cut some of this off. And I'm going to do it again. And I'm not sure if I cut it. I may have cut it the... Did I cut it the right? I can't tell. Anyway, I want to cut it like that. So I'm just going to cut a little tiny bit off. All right. And then bring it back around. Okay. All right. Straighten it up. If you want to bring this out a little bit more, kind of a, actually, if you do want to bring it out, you might want to use the round nose so you don't give it a weird sharp curve there. And these guys you might want to move in some if they look like they're too overlapped. Okay. Okay. And there you go. See how quick that was? And it's pretty. So just experiment with your own loop designs or what have you, and I hope you will like it. And then if you oxidize it, you know, you'll get a different look. It's basically the same design. It's just that one is oxidized and one isn't. And actually this one, the loops are a little bit higher, so I could probably go back and just do that if I wanted to do that. And bring those in a bit, because I did probably spread them out a little bit much. Okay. And like that. And then this one, like that. So I think that's a little closer to what we had. Okay. All right, so there you go. And I hope you enjoyed this, and please like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it so that I can continue to do this for the long term, but I hope you liked it. Please also leave your comments if you have any comments about something that you want to see me do. This is only my 8th video, and I definitely want to do more. And I just, you know, ideas are always good. I can do lots of different things, but sometimes I tend to fall into a rut and and do very similar things. But if you have questions about anything about making jewelry to sell and things like that, you know, please leave me a comment. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for watching. And if I don't get another video out before then, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Take care. Bye-bye.